There are growing fears for the future of some of the country's smallest live music venues. Dozens closed just last year, and that could threaten the sell-out stadium acts of tomorrow. The Scouting for Girls frontman, Roy Stride, told us that pubs and clubs act as the playground, if you will, for rising stars. But faced with increasing costs and indeed falling ticket sales, many such venues have been left with little choice but to call time. So what can be done then? Well, there's growing support for a new levy, using money from tickets from big gigs to help subsidise grassroots stages. Our entertainment reporter Rishi Davda has been looking at exactly how it might work.
Adele's career didn't begin in front of thousands of fans. And Nebworth most definitely wasn't the Gallagher brothers' first gig. Most of music's biggest names started their journey on the smallest stages. For the up-and-comers, grassroots music venues are a perfect training ground. The Lab in Northampton is one of many at risk of shutting for good, currently crowdfunding to stay afloat. Rising costs for both performers and venues has put them on the brink.
We're always 1 or 2 months away from closing, potentially. It depends on if we have a few bad weeks or if we get a funding application turned down. So we really are just always sort of living on the edge. All the overheads have doubled, if not tripled. Because we're always firefighting with the finances, then it can really hold us back from sort of growing and being as good as we can be.
In 2023, around 125 grassroots music venues had to call it a day, and new figures for 2024 show things aren't improving. 43.8% of venues are making a loss. They've seen a 23.4% decline in ticket sales compared to last year. And since 2022, the cost of putting on a live show has increased by more than 30%. Scouting for Girls saw their debut album go right to #1. Their frontman Roy knows the pivotal role early gigs played in later success. How important is it as an artist to play the smaller venues before graduating up to the bigger stages?
It's like the playground of where you can make mistakes and where you start putting your songs together, putting your set list together, and you start getting really good. We need those small venues. You can't just go from playing on TikTok to headlining Glastonbury.
In order to safeguard the pipeline of British talent, campaigners are calling for a new scheme, which will see £1 from every ticket sold for a music event at a major stadium or arena put back into the grassroots music scene. Something similar already exists across the channel. The mandatory 3.5% contribution from the sale of all tickets for major music events here in France goes to the Centre National de la Musique, an organisation set up by the state to support independent record shops, musicians and performers, as well as giving money to small, community-driven music venues that nurture up-and-coming talent. Point Éphémère is one of those venues that's benefited from the money raised. Playing there the night we visited was Swim Deep, an indie band founded in Birmingham who happened to have a French drummer. The group have been touring the continent and can see the differences.
In mainland Europe, the governments inject a lot more money to music in general, to the music industry.
Appreciate the arts.
You can feel it like when you walk in a venue.
Like more amenities, and communities thrive on these things, you know, to laugh, to dance, to share memories with. That is such an important thing. It's such an underrated commodity.
France has taken proactive steps to protect its cultural core. Those tasked with its legacy say the levy has been a standard for many years. How long has the ticket contribution scheme been in place and how successful do you think it's been?
All the system was created in 1986 to organize a solidarity between the small and the big ones. So we don't have a lot of bankrupts in the live industry in France.
As for the UK, none of the country's 5 largest arenas responded to our question of whether or not they'd be on board with the £1 ticket contribution scheme, either opting in voluntarily or being bound to pay by law. The Music Venue Trust has been pushing for it since 2018.
The whole music ecosystem should be benefiting from the success we're seeing at arena and stadium level, and local communities deserve the right of access to live music in their communities. All we need is a small contribution from the success that's happening at arenas and stadiums, and we can guarantee that access.
Some of the world's greatest artists have come from the UK, but the industry needs investment to ensure musical excellence remains one of our proudest exports.
Now, Rishi, this £1 levy sounds like a really good idea. How likely is it, do you think, to happen?
Well, I think there's a good chance because the industry needs grassroots music venues. The sticking point with the £1 contribution is that campaigners say, well, it should be coming from within existing ticket prices, so fans don't have to pay any more money. It'll be a show cost. So then the stadium and arena owners go, well, hang on, that's going to dig into our profits. And that's probably why we haven't had any agreement on the scheme, at least voluntarily, up until this point. A parliamentary committee has looked into this and said they'd love if it could be sorted out at an industry level. Big venue owners saying, yes, OK, we need talent coming through. We're going to invest in securing the future of grassroots music venues. It already happens in football. The Premier League put money into grassroots football programmes. The committee submitted a report to the government in May saying that if the big bosses in the music industry can't sort it out, then the government should step in and introduce something mandatory like the £1 contribution or something similar. The government says it's encouraged that people are at least talking about a potential levy, and they're going to publish a response to the report very soon. Now, if this was sorted at an industry level, we could have money flowing into grassroots venues within weeks. If it needs to be sorted out by the government, then it could take up to a year. And in that time, with venues closing, we run the risk of missing out on lots of up-and-coming talent being discovered.
OK. Rishi Dafta, thank you.